None of what I just said, for example, changed on the 5th of November of 2008, the day after the presidential election. Right? None of it changed on the 21st of January 2009 just because a man of color was elected president. Yet a lot of people think that's true. The Wall Street Journal, the day after the election, said we're a post-racial nation and Obama should let everybody know that. Of course, the Wall Street Journal has never thought we had a race problem in this country. Never once did they editorialize about it, even when it was blatant. So you can take whatever they say with a grain of salt on pretty much any subject. Right? But they also thought derivatives were great and would work out just fine. So I wouldn't really count on them for much. Right? But it wasn't just conservatives. That's easy, right? There's also some liberal folks. It was Richard Cohen, a nominally liberal columnist with the Washington Post. Frank Rich, a nominally liberal columnist with the New York Times, both of which wrote similar articles in the week leading up to the election, or Cohen on the day of the election, but the votes hadn't even been counted yet. See, I've learned, you don't assume you know who won the presidency for like 3 months. If you're smart, you have to stick around and wait because you just never know how things are going to shake out. But Richard Cohen was so confident on the day of the election that he said, we have overcome. Right? Fascinating. You actually jack civil rights language. Right? And we have, like as if that was part of the civil rights agenda, getting a black president. That wasn't even on the top 100 things that the movement was fighting for. It wasn't even in the rear view mirror of that. I mean, it wasn't even on the agenda. But a lot of people seem to think that the election of a man of color as president somehow suggests that we're post-racial. Before we get into the specifics of why this is so crazy and so flawed, I just want you to think about it logically for a minute. You know, that is important, and I'm going to give you some that I think demonstrate the fallacy of it. But let's just think about it logically. Why would we think that individual accomplishment, even at that level, signifies larger systemic change? Because that's what people say. How can we be a racist country anymore if a man of color can be elected president? I don't know. How did Benazir Bhutto win in Pakistan? Is it because sexism is dead? Right? A woman. She won not once but twice, 88 and 91. Now, she tried to come back into politics, and they killed her. That's how much they loved her. Right? Assassinated as she tries to return to the political field, but elected twice as a female. If I were to say that Pakistan no longer had an issue with sexism, that patriarchal oppression had been, just eliminated in Pakistan. And this I know because Benazir Bhutto, a female, was head of state over 20 years ago, as a matter of fact. Most people, I think, would hear that and go, come on. Like, we know that girls and women in Pakistan don't have fully equal opportunity. Same thing in India, Israel, Great Britain. They've all had female heads of state. But I don't think that anyone is going to say about any of those places that girls and women in those places are not discriminated against anymore. And yet, really, that is what we're being asked to accept in the case of our own country with regard to the subject of race. That somehow individual accomplishment says there's no longer a problem. By which logic, we should say also there was no racism in 1911 in this country. Or at least none that really was a barrier to black people. And this we know because that was the year that Madam C.J. Walker became a millionaire. The first African-American and first female millionaire in this country's history. Right? She became a millionaire, for those who know the story, manufacturing and marketing, distributing, developing beauty products for black women. Cosmetics, at a time when white-dominated cosmetics firms didn't see the need to do this or even care about the black market. So Madam C.J. Walker moves into this opening, right, and she creates this business, and she becomes a millionaire. Fantastic. But would anyone have said, well, Madam C.J. Walker can make it, so what the hell's wrong with all the rest of you black people? In 1911. I mean, I guess somebody could have said that, but surely we would understand how silly that was. Right? Surely we would understand that individual accomplishment, even at a level like that, doesn't necessarily tell you anything about larger systemic change. So what's the evidence? Well, the evidence is, and this is from the Labor Department just last December, that black college graduates, just to give you an idea of the ongoing disparity, and then we'll talk about the causes for that, that black college graduates, twice as likely to be unemployed as white college graduates. Latino college graduates, 2/3 more likely to be unemployed than white college graduates. Asian Pacific American college graduates, 15% more likely to be out of work than their white counterparts. And when people of color are out of work, they also, regardless of their educational accomplishment, are out of work for longer periods. Whether you're Asian American or African American, for example, on average 7 to 9 additional weeks out of work relative to white folks. So that's important for a couple reasons. One, it indicates that even when people of color have got similar educational qualifications, they are not having the same outcomes and the same ultimate opportunities. It also goes a long way toward debunking this notion of reverse discrimination and unfair preference for people of color. Because if that were a real problem, they'd be snapping up all these folks of color. Oh my God, a black person with a college degree, gotta hire them. Latino with a college degree, gotta hire them. Asian with a college degree, gotta hire them. Listen, lack of opportunity for white people. But of course, that's not what's going on. We know a study from a few years ago confirmed that. MIT and the University of Chicago. Study comes out from their econ departments. If you don't know anything about their econ departments, trust me when I tell you they are hardly leftist in orientation. The University of Chicago in particular, right? And this study comes out which finds that job applicants with white-sounding names 50% more likely to get called back for an interview than applicants with black-sounding names, even when the qualifications are the same. Same years of experience, right? Same kind of education at the very same quality schools. Everything indistinguishable except the names at the top, and simply being suspected of whiteness gives you a leg up. That, too, demonstrates ongoing barriers for, in this case, black folks, ongoing advantages for white folks. In fact, the study found that for a black applicant to have the same odds of getting a call back for an interview, not even guarantee the job, just an interview itself, for a black person to have the same odds of a callback for an interview, they would have to have 8 more years of experience relative to a white applicant in order to have the same odds. You have to be considerably more qualified to just have the same chance of getting your foot in the door. That's a study that comes out in 2004. It's important to point that out because 2004 is also the year that Barack Obama is introduced to most of us at the Democratic National Convention, right? John Kerry's nominating convention, summer of 2004 in Boston. And most of us had never heard of the man before. He stands up. He's a state senator at the time, running for U.S. senator, an office he would win that November. Stands up the summer of 2004 and gives this beautiful oratory, right? First time most of us had seen him, first national speech. And in that speech, he had a lot of applause lines. The one that got the biggest reaction was the one where he said, and you may remember it, if not, go back and listen to it. It's stunning. He goes, "We're not a black America and a white America and a Latino America and an Asian America. We're just the United States of America." And everybody's like, oh. Because it was lovely, man. It was beautiful. It was poetic. It was prosaic. It was inspiring. It was absolutely and utterly inaccurate. And Barack Obama, smart enough to know that it was. I don't have any doubt that he knew, even as he said it, that he was saying something that was intellectually completely devoid of all substance. But it was a great applause line. It made everybody feel good. He said that the same summer that this MIT and University of Chicago study came out about the white names and the black names, which tells us what? That we're not united at all. That our opportunities are not equal at all. The same summer, a Justice Department report comes out that says that black and Latino males 2 to 3 times more likely than white males to be stopped and searched for drugs by cops, even though white males are 4 times more likely to have the drugs on us on the occasions when we are searched. So we're half as likely, maybe 1/3 as likely, to be searched, but we're 4 times more likely to be guilty on the occasions when we are. That is heavy information. And it certainly suggests we're not a united nation. It suggests that, in fact, we are profoundly that's not even a word, disunified. I'm reverting back to old presidential ways, but making up words. But that's the beauty of whiteness. See, I can do that. Right? I can say disunified, and tomorrow it'll be in somebody's dictionary. Right? Because as a white person, I can just make up language, and folks will go, "That's okay. It's okay." Black person says disunified, folks are going to be like, "That's not a word," or whatever word I want to make up, right? That's just the beauty of privilege. That's a little side note. But in any event, right? In any event, unity is not something that you have just because you say it. It's not an act of wish fulfillment. It's not like that movie with Kevin Costner, right, where he builds the baseball stadium in the back of his yard, and all those old dead white dudes come back to play. Right, and he's like, "If you build it, they will come." And it's like magic, right? That's not how justice happens. That's not how equity happens. It's not how unity happens. You don't just say it and then it emerges. You have to actually work at it, and we haven't finished that work. That's what the evidence says, 2 to 4 million, depending on which number you believe. But let's just take the bottom one, the most conservative estimate, 2 million cases of race-based housing discrimination against people of color every year. Folks being given mortgages at higher interest rates than they would be if they were white, with the same collateral, same credit record, same occupational status, income, etc. This ends up depriving hundreds of thousands of black and brown folks every single year, if not millions, really it would be millions of black folks every year. Equity that they would otherwise amass. If you think about a point and a half, 2 points on a loan, which is oftentimes what people of color are being charged above what they would if they were white, right, in terms of their interest rate, over a 30-year loan period, that's a couple $100,000 in additional payments to the bank. That's a couple $100,000 less equity that you're able to develop. Think about the effect of that, not just on those families, which is obvious, right, for them to have less wealth, but it's also an effect on the overall economy, because that's less money that what do people do with their housing equity? Right? Housing equity is really the number one way that most of our parents pay for our college. Right? In addition to whatever financial aid we're able to get, debt we're willing to go into, scholarships we're lucky enough to get, the number one way that parents pay for their kids' education is to dip into their housing equity. The way that we start businesses is often by dipping into our housing equity. So if you've got millions of families and households of color around the country with, collectively tens of billions of dollars in less equity, because they've been treated differentially in the housing market, that's money they can't use to pay for their kids' education. That's money that they can't use to start their own business, which would help stimulate the economy of whatever neighborhood and community they're living in. Really, the whole economy, the whole national economy. So we're talking about an economic effect, what economists call a multiplier effect, that goes well beyond just the community that's being ripped off, if you will, and given less opportunity. This is stuff we need to think about, and not just people of color. It's obvious why people of color have to, because your lives and opportunities are at stake. But I want to make sure everybody in the room that's white also understand that this matters or should matter to you. Because the truth of the matter is, whether or not you think it's about you, maybe it's not right now. A lot of folks didn't think the subprime mortgage thing was a problem either for them when it was only black and brown folks being hit by it. And then it spread. Didn't think double-digit unemployment for black and brown folks was a national crisis when that was happening 20 years ago, and 30 years ago, and 10 years ago, even when the economy was good. And now that white folks are looking at double-digit unemployment, it's like the sky is falling, the world is ending. But for some people, that's not new, right? For some people, that's been a normal condition. So we need to pay attention, because you never know when the stuff that's hitting this group over here today is going to come back and hit you.
Welcome back.
And you will know my name is the Lord.
Once again, you are still tuned in to R&M RBG TV. Your brother and Guvo Nayusi. Y'all saw the clip? I ain't gonna front. I'm gonna, I guess you even say, like I always do, I give credit where credit is due. So I got respect for the words that the dude just said. Tim Wise is his name. Tim Wise, that's his name. I said Ross a minute ago, whatever, I don't know. But anyway, that's his name. Tim Wise. If you don't know, go look the dude up, because he does that a lot. He removes what I call the white myth. He takes that away from white folks. You know what I'm saying? That whole notion of superiority or entitlement and all that other shit, right? He takes that away from him by way of fact. If you heard what he did, he named documents, he named different legislative acts, he gave dates, something that people lie, a lot of folks like to run away from, times and dates, right? Nonetheless, he just put it out there. But it's for two reasons why he put it out there. One, for his own folks, so they can face their own mirror reflection, nonetheless, right? Two, for us as well, who have the ears to hear it, who have the eyes to see the shit that's going on, nonetheless. That way we can play the game accordingly. So I give that a respect. Not saying that I will go out and join up in arms with him, but nonetheless, in warfare, you gotta respect your opponent. You gotta respect our position, right? And we can't run from facts too. We have to face things for what it is.
Down upon thee with great vengeance and furious anger, those who attempt to poison and destroy my brothers. And you will know my name is the Lord.
Times are turning. Times are changing. Tables are turning. You understand? Folks are getting smarter. Folks are starting to play the game. Nonetheless, the game is all life. At the end of the day, it's all how you live it. Why you live it, nonetheless. So black people, get your shit together. Get your shit together. And we doing that day by day. So I want to big that up as well. Black people that's striving, black people that's grinding, black people that's in the process of establishing some shit for black people. We got a lot of things ahead of us. We got a lot of hurdles, a lot of obstacles, but nonetheless, they can be accomplished. They can be tackled. Do you want to? I just wanted to throw that up there before the people, man. Nothing too serious. It's serious in information. So I will say that. But nothing too crazy. Something that you all can grasp. Something that you can understand. And hopefully you understand that. But questions, comments, concerns, you already know. Get at me in that comment box. Let's chat. That personal email, let's chat. RNMRBG@gmail.com. But in the meantime, between time, thank you for walking with me the way I walk with you. You already know how we do. This is R&M RBG TV. It's your brother and Guvo Nayusi R&M. If you can stay around a little bit longer on the channel, I'm going to get into something real major, though. And it also ties into this. It stems off of this. But in the meantime, between time, keep it live, keep it G. R&M RBG TV. Think, live, bang out. Black Power.